fall garden because they won't buy fall bloomers in the spring. Why? Because the green globs are tufts of little plants in pots that look like they're dead, and you don't know what they're going to become. This was a bouquet I cut from my garden on September 27th. Can you do that? Right? You will be able to. This is a bulb that blooms in the fall. Gorgeous, gorgeous bulb, totally resistant to vole damage. This is ceratostigma, which is called plumbago. This was taken in like October in my garden with feverfew. Japanese anemones. Now you can plant them for succession from August through October. This is Honorée Joubert, which blooms for about 4 to 5, maybe 6 weeks in our gardens. September charm. This is a native burnet. It's called Sanguinaria canadensis. I love this plant because the pollinators adore it. It's in my garden. It blooms, there it is in the background. It blooms in September and October. And this is Vernonia iron butterfly, a dwarf Vernonia. And the two of them attract so much life in late September and October in my garden. I have wet soil. My soil is really heavy, and these plants are happy as clams. So you can see how many flowers there are. And now I've added more of them. I've been collecting the seed and dropping the seed. Eupatoriums. There's so many eupatoriums for fall. They are native plants that bees love. This is September 19th. This is Eupatorium celestinum, boneset, eupatorium, and Joe Pye, 3 different eupatoriums. Phlox paniculi, Tracy's treasure, named after Tracy de Sabato Aust, who wrote the book, The Well-Tended Perennial Garden, with Helianthus lemon queen and goldenrod in my garden. This phlox starts in late August and goes into October, when all the other phloxes are done. Asters. If you have nothing else in your fall garden, plant asters. And if you can buy your asters in the spring and plant them, you'll have big old asters by the fall. It doesn't take long. This is Alma Pachki. She's a beautiful pink New England aster. You want to pinch your taller asters in June. Look at the bees. Look at the life on these plants. It's crazy. Plus, when they're blooming, they're in bloom for the migrating butterflies, the migrating monarchs. We raise 700 to 1,000 monarch butterflies in our nursery every year. And we tag them. You see the tags for Monarch Watch? No asters, boy, they just go right by. These are mammoth mums. This is a variety of mum that was developed in Minnesota. And it's very, very cold hardy and will reach a big mound in a couple of years. They start in September and go into October. This is coral daisy. You can see how beautifully full they get after a single year. Now, forget September. Most of you, oh, I just put mums out. Well, not perennial mums. Forget these dweeby annual mums. You know, don't just think of mums as an afterthought. You want perennial asters, perennial mums, sanguisorbas, eupatoriums. You want all of these plants in your garden for those late pollinators. This is Lady in Black aster, a magnificent aster, beautiful flowers, burgundy foliage, one of the most active asters for pollinators. Goldenrods get a bad name because people think you're going to get hay fever from them. No way. Hay fever comes from plants that are wind pollinated. Goldenrods are insect pollinated. And as one person said in a Facebook post, and I wish I knew who it was so I could quote them, but they said you would have to pick a handful of goldenrod flowers and shove them up those nostrils to get any sort of a reaction to the goldenrod flowers. So don't worry about goldenrod. Some of the goldenrods spread a lot and some of them don't. So I did for my staff what's called a Solidago cheat sheet, because some of them are better than others for gardens where you don't want them to rip. Fireworks. I love fireworks. Solar cascade. There's so many kinds that are so critical. The 2 top plants for late season pollinators are goldenrods and asters. Without them, we're doing a disservice to our native pollinators. When we release our tagged monarchs, they have 1 million plants to go to. Where do they go to? Goldenrod. This is not a native aster. This is Aster tartaricus, but that's NatureWorks. It gets 6 feet tall, and it's like a bouquet on a stalk. There's also a dwarf form called Jindai. So this is good if you have room because it spreads a lot. Montauk daisies are also very late. You pinch them in June and they bloom in October. And they always have something on them, butterflies or bees. Perennial sunflowers. There are many perennial sunflowers that are October bloomers. This variety is called the willow leaf sunflower, Helianthus salicifolius. There's lots of new varieties of this. These are solid October bloomers, great for cut flowers. So think fall for October perennial sunflowers. Sanguisorbas. This is a Sanguisorba that I got that has a variegated leaf and it blooms until November in my garden. I use it in cut flower arrangements in November. So it has a bottle brush flower that's a burgundy color. Persicaria. Persicaria firetail starts in July and goes well into October. This year it went well into November because we had such a late fall. And this is an amazing long bloomer. And it comes in different colors. There's a coral color, a dark red color, a pink color. So I made this arrangement in my garden probably Thanksgiving weekend, Halloween weekend. There's the Sanguisorba. Those are some very late mums, some late roses. There's even some mustard flowers in there, beautyberry, perennial salvias. So you can do this too. Abelia grandiflora, that was on the list last night of my favorite plants, oldie but goodies, because this blooms forever too. This is basically July to October. And this is really attractive to bees, as you can see, but also to butterflies. Simicifuga ramosa atropurpurea, not available this year from most of my perennial suppliers. They're all subbing it for something else that's not fragrant. This blooms in October. It is amazing. It smells so good. Seven Suns tree, Heptacodium. Now, George, you're sitting here. You love this tree. I know. Wherever I go to George Tracina's, anything that George Tracina's planted, I always see this tree. It has white flowers in the fall. And it's 7 tiers of white fragrant flowers, followed by calyxes that are coral. And people look this up on the internet and they're like, oh no, I want the pink flowered form. No, you're not looking at a flower here, people. You're looking at a calyx. That's my garage. I go upstairs in my garage and look at the window when it's blooming because there's so many bees and butterflies on it. And then there are the perennial mums, the mums that start in October and go into November that live through our winters with ease. And there's so many kinds. Sheffield is one of the easiest to get. There's probably, how many do we grow? Maybe 14 or 15 varieties of perennial mums that we offer, and nobody else seems to care about them. Everybody wants these annual mums. You know why? Because they look good in a pot on a grocery store shelf. Perennial mums aren't as sexy in October, but once you have them in the garden, you'll have armloads of flowers for the rest of your life. This is Aster cortifolius Avondale, and I'm telling you, if you're going to put in one aster, put this in. This is alive, man. This is an amazing, amazing variety of our woodland aster. This is in my garden. This is one of the global warming mums. We got a shipment of global warming mums in from Vermont, and all the cuttings, the box tipped over, and all the labels got mixed up, so I don't know the name of this, but I planted it anyway. And I put in that Aster cortifolius Avondale this year because I liked the combination, and immediately there were pollinators all over it. Oh, my updates are not current. Okay, thank you very much. My husband said you gotta do something about that. I said, no, you do. You know, late blooming liatris. We know the July blooming liatris cabal. There's late blooming liatrises that bloom in October. So think, those are very tall. Those are great color. This is an October picture in our garden center taken by my manager, Diane. Look at all that color, man. Aster laevis bluebird is the bomb. It's a beautiful, smooth, it's called the smooth aster. It's a native aster. This is the straight species that seeds around, but bluebird is shorter and very long blooming. That's my yard. And here it is in my garden with the seed pods of orange asclepias. Aster oblongifolius, October skies with mammoth mums. And look at the persicaria in my garden. This is really late in the season. This is October. October skies, right? That's one plant. That's another plant that I got from a seedling on the other side. Look at how late this is. The milkweed's turned yellow. This is a morning fog. There's seed pods of everything everywhere. And this guy's just going, I'm in bloom, and I'm going to keep on blooming because I know there's native pollinators out there. Borage. Who would think borage could take cold? Borage is a self-seeding annual herb. The flowers are edible. The leaves feel almost juicy, and yet the summer blooming borage drops its seed, and I get a fall crop, and it lives until November. Who would have ever known? Who has flowers in November? Anybody? Yeah, Pierre, you're going to raise your hand. I know you will. I know you will. Right. So monkshood, October and November. This is a relation of delphinium. It's poisonous, which means it's not eaten by deer. It's great to put it in front of a plant that has yellow fall foliage, so it really pops. Aster Izomarasaki. This is a plant I learned about from Pierre Bannerup. This is a really cool aster, very, very late. Little purple flowers, such an underrated aster, so pretty, good cut flower. Aster Rayden's favorite, my favorite for late October and November. This is my garden, people. It's eating up the seed of autumn joy and spitting it out for breakfast. I mean, it's so alive with life. The sunflowers are gone, everything else is gone. Look at that. I mean, I just figured out how to put videos on, so next time I do this talk, I'll have a video. I did a video last night and it worked, I was so excited, but there wasn't any sound, but I gotta figure that out next. But you can really get videos of them buzzing. And then this plant, I was just talking to Pierre about this. This is such a cool plant. This is a miniature allium that blooms in late October and in November, and it's usually in bloom on Thanksgiving. And I plant this by the front door of everybody's house, or where they're walking out from their garage, because nobody expects it to be in bloom in November. And when it is in bloom, it is covered wall to wall with bees, to the point where I walk out of my courtyard, where I have it everywhere, and I hear them before I see them. So look for this if you can find it. It's really worth it. When you buy it, you're like, this looks like a great big nothing in a pot, or a big little nothing in a pot. Put it in anyway, but put it where you're going to see it in the fall. Don't put it in the back 40. And here it is in my garden with some more asters, late asters. And there is a white form available, which is also fun. So you can make little vases of these. Then the seed pods dry. I had some in a vase, they dried, and I still have them in a vase in my office. Aster Fanny. Aster Fanny is another aromatic aster. This blooms in November, and it grows under trees in deep shade. It's almost too spready for some people, but November and December. Johnny Jump Ups. This is where my snowdrops were. They bloom in November, and then they stay over the winter and come back up. And you see how I'm leaving the leaves. Why not? I want them to hold the soil together, feed the soil. This is self-sown broccoli raw mustard, I'm not sure what, in my garden, but in November when there's nothing else but the Allium ozawa and the Aster Fanny blooming, I walk down the back 40 and my self-sown mustards are on bloom and they've got pollinators on them. So I cut them and put them in a vase. This is not a bee, this is a seraphid fly, and this is on a really late blooming perennial mum called Maikyo, which is a really good late bloomer. It's really late, really easy to grow. It's a button flower, doesn't need a lot of pinching, spreads easily, total rock star. These are all plants that you're not going to have an easy time finding anymore. So think about that. And then this is Lucy's Pink. This starts in late October, blooms into November. Anybody that's a friend of mine gets a piece of this, and then they have to pass it on to somebody. When they're blooming, we call each other up and say, are your Lucy's blooming? That we name them after a woman. I named them after a woman, Lucy Carlin, who lived in Guilford, and she had these in her garden for years and years and years before I started gardening for her. I started gardening for her in 1982 before I started Nature Works, and they had been in her garden for decades. Because there was a nursery in Connecticut called Bristol Nurseries that introduced and bred these perennial mums. And that's why if you have them in your yard and you don't see them on my benches, I would love to switch with you. You bring me yours, I'll give you mine, because I want to keep these babies alive because they are true perennials. This is a company that started Global Warming Mums because they realized that we needed to provide pollinator plants for the late pollinators. They are in northern Vermont on the Canadian border, so these are hardy. They're amazing. They're very late, great for cutting, lots of different colors. Very hard to find these days. That's with my sanguisorba. Very, very late. Borage in November. Aster Lady in Black in November. I'm glad I have the dates. Corylus. This is in November. This blooms all summer, all spring, summer, and fall if you've got the right conditions. I have a white one and a yellow one. This is a rebloom of an iris pumila, baby blessed, in November. Don't forget there's repeat blooming irises too. And then there's our fall witch hazel, November witch hazel, native understory plant from which the Dickinson witch hazel plant gets their witch hazel. Most people miss it because they're not out looking for a flowering tree in November. You pick it, you put it on a vase on your garden center counter, and people have no idea what they're looking at. They scratch the bark and they're like, oh, witch hazel, right? So this is a native plant. This is December, Aster Fanny, covered with pollinators at NatureWorks. So we can be the change. We are the change, people. It's up to us to do this. We gotta plant early, we gotta plant late. Think of the bookends. Think of the fact that it's private lands that are gonna carry this on. Don't wait for our government to plant this stuff, okay? Plant it in your own garden, plant it in the school gardens, plant it in the parks, okay? Be the change, because that's the way it's gonna have to work from now on. So for anybody that's not familiar with NatureWorks, we do have a weekly email, we do have a big Facebook presence, Instagram presence, we do weekly YouTube videos, so you can sign up over there. We do have a booth downstairs, and I'm here to answer your questions. I'm sure I went over, didn't I? Yeah, I'm sure I went over, right? Questions?